Hello, everybody. Alex's story time. Let me tell you a new story today. Today's story comes from James, an English name he goes by. He has a good friend from Chongqing, and this story is his friend's mother's personal experience, whom we'll refer to as Aunt Yang or simply Yang for the sake of narrative. Yang is now retired. She used to work in education and with the principal of a middle school in Chongqing before her retirement. Yang's father was a well-known doctor and the dean of a provincial hospital in Chongqing. He was a respected elder in the medical field and raised three daughters, with Yang being one of them. All three daughters were very accomplished. However, during the tumultuous decades of Cultural Revolution, because their family was made up of intellectuals, they suffered a great deal. Yang's father was sent to a re-education through labor camp, while Yang and her two sisters were sent to the countryside where life was extremely hard. But Yang never gave up on learning. Thanks to her higher level of education, in 1972, she was dispatched to Dabashan Mountains to provide educational support in an area where education was severely lagging. This work involves sending educated youth from cities to rural areas to bolster the local education efforts. Where is Dabashan mountain range? It is located in the western part of the mainland China at the junction of three provinces, Shanxi, Sichuan, and Hubei, spanning over 500 kilometers from east to west. Historically, it has been known as 1,000 miles Dabashan. Aunt Yang worked as a teacher in this region until the early 1980s, a total of 8 years. Our story today takes place during her time as a teacher in Dabashan, near Sichuan, where she taught at a primary school. Children from surrounding areas would come to the school, which was a 5-kilometer journey from the nearest village, with a very difficult mountain path and no transportation. So students had to walk. Therefore, the school was a boarding school. There were not so many students. So the boys and the girls each had their own dormitory. Most of the teachers were locals, so they can go home during weekends, but Yang couldn't. She had to stay in a very simple dormitory provided by the school. Conditions at that time were very poor. In addition to teaching, the school had its own small farm where Yang, like the other teachers, had to do farm work such as planting and harvesting when not teaching. Due to the special era, Yang had no idea when she would be able to return to the city, to Chongqing. But she started working there in 1972. She thought she might never go back. Moreover, Yang was already in her 20s, had a boyfriend who would later become her husband, and the two could only communicate by letters. Both of them were involved in educational support work, far from home, and worse still, they did not know what the future held. Thinking about this situation now, it's really heartbreaking. Fortunately, Yang was an optimist, very intelligent and eager to learn. She got along very well with the local teachers and students, who all liked her. After all, she came from a big city and knew more about the outside world. Except teachers and students, there was a married couple at the school, locals who were in charge of the school canteen. Since their home was quite far away, they moved their home to school for convenience in cooking for teachers and students. This couple, in their 30s, were referred to by Yang as a brother and sister. These two worked diligently and were kind to the children and teachers. They knew that Yang, a young girl so far away from home without family, needed extra care. And although China now has no illiteracy, in those days, ordinary people had a great respect for educated individuals. This is a part of our millennia-old tradition. Sometimes, when Yang couldn't make it to the canteen on time for meals, the sister would keep food aside for her, so Yang got along very well with them. On weekends, when students and local teachers went home, only Yang and this couple remained at the school. They often ate and chatted together. The couple lived in a small room next to the canteen. Upon opening the door, one could see the entire room, which contained a bed, a table with a few stools, and a wardrobe of very, very simple furniture. Yang was an optimist, a girl who loved to talk and laugh. Since there were few female colleagues, she chatted a lot with sister from the canteen, and they became close. Over time, Yang noticed something very strange about this couple. The school had a summer vacation, during which the children and teachers would go home, leaving only Yang and the couple at school. The canteen stopped cooking, so Yang cooked for herself. Some might wonder why Yang didn't go home during the holidays. Let me explain, everybody. At that time in China, one needed an introduction letter to travel, a certificate that allowed you to buy train tickets and stay in hotels. Additionally, China had a food coupon system divided into local and national food coupons. To purchase food, one had to exchange food coupons. Local food coupons were used at home, and national food coupons were used when traveling. Money alone was not enough to buy food. There were also sewing machine coupons and bicycle coupons, TV coupons, meaning that to buy a sewing machine or a bicycle or a TV, money was not enough. One needed the corresponding coupons. My mother's aunt. My story, everybody, happened to me, my family. My mother's aunt went to Beijing, the capital of our country, to visit her eldest brother's family when she was just a teenager. Her brother had been assigned to work in Beijing after his military service. She walked 50 kilometers with coal transporters from her village to the train station, only to find out that without an introduction letter, she could not buy a ticket. The letter needed to be written and stamped by the village officials. So she waited at the Dezhou train station in my hometown for a whole day. A teenage girl alone, not knowing anyone, without eating or drinking for the whole day. The next day, the coal transporters brought her the letter, and then she took a day-long train ride, 360 kilometers away to Beijing. In that era of extreme material scarcity, not to mention whether Yang's salary was enough to buy a train ticket, even if she had the money, getting an introduction letter was not easy. Without the approval and stamped letter from the leadership, she had no chance to go home during the winter and summer vacations. Moreover, at that time, Yang's father and her two sisters were in different areas, and her home in Chongqing was essentially gone. So she stayed at school during both vacations. I will also share my family's stories with everyone later. But let's continue with Yang's story. Since the school was only left with the three of them during summer vacation, Yang discovered something in her first summer there. She could only see the sister, but never saw the brother. Did he go back to his own village? Perhaps. After all, he was a local, and maybe he could do other work during summer vacation. After the summer vacation, the brother reappeared, and everything was normal. The winter vacation was also normal. On the third day of the second year summer vacation, The brother disappeared again. There was no concept of part-time jobs in those days, and he couldn't possibly work elsewhere. Why did a person just vanish like this? Yang found it strange, but never asked. Later, Yang found out that as long as it was the summer vacation, the brother would disappear. But as soon as the summer vacation was over, he would show up and work as usual. By the year 1977, Yang had been working at this school for more than 5 years, and she was very familiar with this couple. One summer day, as Yang was about to go out to the farm to dig up some vegetables, she saw the sister. The sister said, "Yang, have lunch at my place. I've already prepared it. You don't need to cook. Come, let's eat together." Yang did not refuse, sacked her, and followed the sister into their room. As mentioned before, the room was very small. After entering, Yang saw a person lying on the bed. It was the brother, who would disappear every summer, dressed in clothes and shoes, without covers, sound asleep. Yang was curious and quietly asked his sister, "Is brother sleeping? Why is he sleeping at home during the day? Is he sick? If it's inconvenient, I can come another day." The sister said, "It's nothing. Your brother is like this. He sleeps in the summer and wouldn't get up during the day. You don't need to mind, and you don't have to speak quietly. You won't wake him up." Yang continued to ask, "Does brother sleep like this during the summer vacation, not getting up during the day?" The sister replied, "Yes, in the summer. He sleeps all day. Don't worry about him." At this point, Yang understood why she couldn't see the brother during the summer vacation. It turned out he slept at home during the day. But that's not right either. It doesn't make sense. If he sleeps during the day, he must get up at night, right? He cannot sleep at night anymore. He must get up and eat at night. Eating requires cooking, and cooking makes noise. Yang's dormitory was so close to the brother's and sister's room that any noise could be heard. During all these summers, she never saw them cook at night. On today's table only had food for the two of them, with no meal prepared for the brother. So, what does he eat? Additionally, the brother slept very soundly, but not like a normal sleep. He was dressed in formal clothes and shoes, looking like someone who was extremely tired and fell asleep on the bed, or like someone who drank too much and fell asleep in their clothes. Could it be that he had some illness? Yang's mind was full of questions. But she only asked one question, and the sister's answer was evasive. Yang knew the sister did not want to talk about it. If they did not want to talk, then don't ask. They started chatting about other topics. After the meal, Yang helped his sister wash the dishes and then returned to her dormitory. Later, every summer, Yang still couldn't see the brother, and she never discussed the matter with the sister again. Another 2 years passed, and by the end of 1979, the Cultural Revolution had ended, and many people's destinies were about to change dramatically, including Yang's. In fact, by the end of 1978, many educated youth like Yang had begun to use various connections to return to the city. But it was not yet widespread, and most people still worked in the countryside. Yang also learned some news through correspondence with the outside world, but she comforted herself not to think too much and to continue living as usual. Yang's mentality was really good. Her life remained the same as before. It was not summer vacation when, during a chat with the brother and sister, Yang suddenly asked, "Brother and sister, my father is a well-known doctor in Chongqing. If the brother feels unwell, I can write to my father and ask him to help inquire at the big hospital in Chongqing to see if there's any way to treat it. We're so familiar, and you always take care of me." The brother looked at Yang in surprise and asked, "Ah, do you think I'm sick? Do you think it's abnormal for me to sleep all day during the summer vacation?" Yang felt a bit embarrassed, but the brother and sister's expressions did not change at all. Yang said, "I didn't mean anything else. I see that sister is the only one busy during the summer vacation, and it's very hard work." The brother laughed and said, "Come, Yang, stop working. Let me tell you something." He said, "Yang, thank you for your concern. To be honest with you, I'm not sick. Do you know what I do?" Yang shook her head to indicate that she did not know the answer. The brother said, "I'm afraid you won't believe it, but I'm a person who works for the Underworld, a yin worker, or you can call me an agent between two worlds." Yang couldn't believe it at all. This brother was just a local farmer who cooked in a school kitchen every day. How could he be a person who works for the Underworld? The brother continued, "Yang, you are not from our Dabashan area, so I can tell you without any problem. You are a good person. You have always been very curious, but never asked. I also know that your words just now were out of concern for me. But I can tell you about myself today for another reason, because I know you will be returning to the city in more than a month." Yang was shocked into silence. A person who works for the Underworld returning to the city in more than a month? This information was too hard to understand and accept. Yang felt her mind was about to crash. The brother continued, "I sleep like this for 2 months every year, looking no different from a normal sleep. But I sleep day and night, and I won't wake up or eat or drink during these 2 months." Yang still thought it was impossible. A normal person lying in bed for 2 months without eating and drinking would definitely have died. But she asked a question she cared more about. "Brother, as a person who works for the Underworld, what kind of job do you do?" In response to this question, the brother did not give a detailed explanation, only a general one. He said, "To restrain souls and guide the way, to deliver documents. Moreover, my responsibility area is within a few dozen kilometers of Dabashan. The affairs of this place are under my responsibility, and there are many people like me in the entire Dabashan area." He did not explain in detail how he worked, how he went, how he returned, or to whom he reported. Then he added that because Yang would be returning to the city in more than a month, he revealed a little bit of information to her, but this also made Yang find it incredible. At that time, Yang had only heard that some educated youth had returned to the city, but she had no idea when she could go back. Listening to the brother's words, she felt like she was dreaming. Was it real or fake? The brother continued. If it were a few years ago, I couldn't see it at all. If it were known by others, we would definitely have very bad consequences. So don't blame us for not telling you. Every summer vacation coincides with the 6th and 7th month of the lunar calendar. On the 15th of the 7th month, the gate of Underworld opens, and the birthday of Buddha Dizang is celebrated, releasing 106,000 hungry ghosts from hell. Therefore, the 7th month of the lunar calendar is called Ghost Month in China. This month is the busiest month for us who work for the Underworld. The reason I came to work at the school is because of the summer vacation. There are no others at the school, and we also take on the job of security. And I can focus on my work for the Underworld without anyone noticing me or disturbing me. Yang was extremely shocked. It seemed that all the questions about the brother now had answered. But this answer was not only hard to believe, but also increased many other questions in Yang's heart. The brother continued. There are many people who work for the Underworld in the entire Dabashan area, and there are even more in the whole world. There are many people who do my job, and there may even be someone close to you who works for the Underworld, but you just don't know it. 35 days later, after this chat, Yang unexpectedly received news that she could leave Dabashan and return to the city. It turned out that her family had been helping her with various procedures, but no one had revealed any news to her before it was completed. Because one's hope was given to her, and it was not accomplished in the end, it would be a blow to her. In Yang's heart, apart from the surprise, there was more amazement. The brother said, I was about to return to the city. Could he really be a person who works for the Underworld? When leaving, the brother and sister came to see Yang off. The couple looked no different from usual, telling Yang to greet her family and take good care of her health after returning. In this way, Yang left Dabashan, where she had worked for 8 years, and returned to Chongqing. She will never forget these days for the rest of her life. Yang left Dabashan in 1979, but it was not until 1982 that her files and organizational relations were transferred from the teaching support place to Chongqing, going through many difficulties in between, which we will not elaborate on here. Later, Yang got married and had children in Chongqing, starting as a teacher and eventually becoming a principal. Over the years, she never encountered anything strange again. But decades have passed, and she still vividly remembers the magical experiences of the brother in Dabashan who had to sleep for 2 months every summer. So everyone, this is the end of the story. Please share what you think of the story and your stories. Thank you, everybody. This is Alex's story time, and I am Alex. I got a lot of good stories to share with you. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.